days. I can't lose money, can I? The boss's wife opened her mouth to name the price after thinking for a while. 120. If it works, we take it. Chu Feng replied after a long moment of contemplation. The boss's wife was dumbfounded. She really didn't expect this $100 or so to be haggled over. Forget it, let's just go see the next one. Seeing that this boss hesitated, Chu Feng turned around to leave, but as a result, before his footsteps could be taken, he heard a cry from behind him. Okay, then 120. 10 minutes later, the two left the pet store with the kitten, along with a small metal cage that they had been using to hold it for the time being. He was also a bit curious as to why Tang Shishir had to have this wildcat with heterochromatic pupils. This spirit pet is also bought. The movie is about to start. Hurry up. On the way, seeing Tang Shishir's hesitant footsteps and her eyes staring at the kitten, Chu Feng urged her. This spirit pet has a faint spiritual power on its body. It has already opened up its spirit. It should have swallowed some heavenly material, the specifics of which I can't be sure of at the moment, Tang Shishir said with a slight frown on her beautiful eyebrows. Just now when she swept her divine sense around the pet store, surprisingly she didn't even notice it until she locked eyes with this kitten. Then she noticed the oddity of it. No way? Chu Feng was stunned as he looked at this kitten in the cage. How could he look at it? It did not look like a pet that had opened its spirit. Instead it was dull. After checking the sex of the other cat, which is a female, he named her Little Flower. When we get back, I'll take a look at it after I try to communicate with it using a secret method. For now, let's go to that whatever movie theater you were talking about first. With a wave of Tang Shishir's hand, the cage and the cat both disappeared, supposedly into a separate space, before she blandly said, because of the proximity of the movie's release, neither of them delayed any further on the road, and arrived on the 5th floor of Wan Hong Plaza just in time for the opening. What would you like to drink? Coke or orange juice? Or milk tea? There was a special kiosk outside the screening room that served some popcorn drinks, snacks and such. Tang Shishir was silent, looked around. The other people are holding some food into a deep corridor. Could it be that inside is the so-called movie theater? Forget it, just drink milk tea. Chu Feng knew that asking would be in vain. After all, people didn't even know what Coke was. For girls, though, it's supposed to be more of a milk tea. Okay, go. After buying a cup of cola and a cup of milk tea, as well as a small bucket of popcorn, Chu Feng called out to her. Tang Shishir was stunned for a moment before she followed. The corridor was dark, but you could see that there were rooms to the left and right. Her divine sense covered the whole place, and she found that inside each room there were a lot of couches and chairs placed from top to bottom, as well as a super large screen, because before, when he was bored at home, he had studied some of the various types of magic treasures in this realm, where TVs and cell phones are known, and screens are naturally known. I just didn't realize that there was such a big screen here, with different images playing above each room. This is it. Chu Feng walked in after looking at the screening room where he had booked his ticket and found that there were very few people inside, only 3 or 4 couples. At this moment, Tang Shishir knew that she had guessed wrongly, and thought that this world was human cavernous land, but did not expect that it was a place of entertainment. But since she was already here, she could only follow. The two ended up sitting closest to the screen, where they could see better. What is this? Tang Shishir just sat down not long ago, took over the milk tea handed over by Chu Feng and drank a mouthful of it. Her heart was a little surprised that this thing was so good. Milk tea, Chu Feng impatiently explained. Oh, Tang Shishir didn't say anything else after learning the name, and looked her eyes to that big screen, where the movie had already started. The Wind Whisperer's spell tells the story of Say, the 4 ancient beasts, and it looks mediocre up front, until the end of the movie, when Tao Tai appeared. The real-like scenery, as if the behemoth was about to go drilling out of the screen. Tang Shishir was startled for a moment and was about to get ready to fight, but in the end, she was stopped by Chu Feng, who said that it was a fake and not to get excited. The hour or so of the movie ended and the rest of the audience began to leave one by one. It's 11 o'clock, and you won't be able to call a cab if you don't go back. Chu Feng looked at the time after stretching his back and became a little anxious in his heart. After all, it's not so easy to hail a tic-tac in the middle of the night. Just as the two men were about to leave, they suddenly heard a from outside woo-woo-woo siren. Immediately afterward, I heard someone yelling, "Fire! Fire!" Not so unlucky. Chu Feng was stunned for a moment, seeing that there was already thick smoke drilling in from outside. He hurriedly called out to Tang Shishir to follow him. As a result, when I just walked out of the screening room, I found that there was a fire outside and black smoke filled the room. It looks like the fire should have been caused from the store next door. Everyone, don't panic yet. Cover your mouths and noses. At this time, all the screening room audience have run out in a panic-chasing looks, and found that the road outside the corridor has been enveloped in black smoke, and there is no way to get out. What's the biggest fear of fire? It's the smoke. And many people have died in fires. Not by the fire, but by choking on the gulps. Did you? Call 119-inch. Hit it, the fire trucks are on their way. Several staff members in charge of the evacuation were anxious since, especially when they saw the black smoke constantly heading this way to the corridor. You human races are even afraid of this kind of fire? Tang Shirshir, who had just run out together with Chu Feng, was horrified when she saw the surrounding crowd. Then he swept his eyes outside. Just a normal fire that could be extinguished with a snap of his fingers, and said in a disdainful tone, "Ask for recommendations. Ask for a reward. Please turn the page." Ahem. Many people actually think this is an urban novel. It's actually half of the daily general game world, and probably a few more chapters before I go back to the immortal world. And most of the cool points are over there as well, which equates to it will be 2 sides wearing. So no spoilers for the specifics. End of chapter. Chapter 20 The Game Bracelet, Joe Chase. Chapter 20 The Game Bracelet, Joe Chase. Big sister. These are just ordinary humanoids, not cultivators. If we wait for those strong people to come over to rescue us, I'm afraid we've already burned to death. Do you have a solution? Chu Feng replied with a helpless face. Other floors of the mall may not have burned so quickly and people were able to evacuate in time, but now the fire started right next door, completely blocking the way out and filling the room with black smoke. If the fire trucks had come, I'm afraid they'd have smoked a lot of people to death. Tang Shirshir pondered for a moment and inquired. Lifting one's hand can destroy it, but just by using spell aptitude here, won't it be perceived by those powerful people? Chu Feng became more and more speechless, but upon closer examination, those words were really his words. Oh, I don't want to die. What to do? What to do? Instead of staying here and waiting to die, why don't we rush out? The crowd began to panic and the narrow corridor became extremely crowded all of a sudden. There was a lot of crying, a lot of wailing. While there were calls for calm, fire extinguishers were available in the screening room, but the darkness interspersed with the fire was so pervasive that the source could not be found. There were even a few people who took the risk of rushing out and disappeared into the black smoke without a trace, not knowing whether they were engulfed by the fire or managed to escape. Wouldn't this lighted fire be a wave of the hand for you? Do you have to think about it for so long? Chu Feng was choking and continuously coughed a few times, but his face also regained its calmness. After calming down and thinking about it, there's no way he's going to die with one of the big boys here. Wasn't it you who said you couldn't use divine spells? This young lady has to think about how to extinguish it, right? Tang Shirshir said breathlessly. With her current cultivation level, even the simplest of divine abilities would cause amazing effects. Then use any one of them. You don't think the effect is that great of an aptitude? It shouldn't be detected by the strongest. At this time, the fire outside had already spread, and Chu Feng's tone was suddenly serious. He knew this was no time to fool around. Well, into it. Tang Shirshir nodded after a moment of thought. At this time, outside the Wan Hong shopping center, many people who had escaped were arranged to be evacuated. From the outside of the plaza can be seen in the darkness of the night on the 5th floor of the mall in addition to the fire, black smoke, and is rapidly spreading to other floors. In just 10 minutes, 3 fire engines also drove into the plaza with great speed, and 24 firefighters took emergency positions. What's the situation now? Mall staff reported at least 100 other people trapped on the 5th floor, with the fire spreading tremendously. At this time, several leaders in charge of command were also rushing to the scene to begin to understand the situation. Upon learning that so many people were trapped, arrangements for rescue were immediately set in motion. Just when everyone is all together and ready to put out the fire and aid, something unexpected happens. The night sky, which was full of stars, was suddenly cloudy. Thunder rolled, and the sky seemed to be torn open with a huge mouth, and heavy rain poured down. If rain is a common thing, this rain is outrageous, because the rainfall was only as big as a mall. Even this side of the plaza was dripping. This rain is so timely. A passerby who had just been evacuated from it roared with excitement. As a result of this statement, immediately by the side of the person's ruthless anger, this rain can fall into the mall inside the fire? I think you are crazy, because the mall building is fully enclosed. It is impossible for even the heaviest rain to fall in and put out the fire. Everyone then reacted to the fact that usually when there is a fire elsewhere, it would be a blessing from God if it rained just in time. But all of a sudden, I didn't realize that this was a mall building and I couldn't even get in with the heavy rain. Who says rain can't go in? Look, the rain really did fall in. Only heard a rumble. The mall's roof suddenly cracked open an arm-thick slit. Those accumulated rainwater. A steady stream from the gap flowed in, followed by spraying on the 5th and 6th floors. The entire mall as if it was raining torrentially. Outrageous. It's outrageous. It's not scientific. Micro gathered outside the crowd have been dumbfounded. If the sudden rainstorm is an accident, Then the building suddenly cracked. Is it also an accident? Many people have been filming with their cell phones to capture it all. While there was a flurry of shock at the sudden series of operations, at least the fire was out and people were saved. As everyone was making their way to the rescue, a tiny speck of light flickered from the roof of the mall like a shooting star. 100 meters in the air. A soared two people riding in the air. The speed is so fast that in the blink of an eye, they returned to the neighborhood where they were. Big sister, I told you to move a little less. You're. Just after landing in the alley behind the neighborhood, Chu Feng said something about her. This is another call for wind and rain, and a sword light splitting the building. Chu Feng was confused by her maneuver at that time. This young lady is the supreme demon race. How can I easily take action for your human race? Even if I do, then naturally I have to get enough momentum to make them submit to me. Chu Feng, I'm afraid this isn't a case of middle child disease? How can something so simple to this woman be made so complicated just for the sake of pretending? But thank you for saving those people at least, otherwise we really would have lost a lot of money tonight. Chu Feng took a long breath and thanked for those she had saved. Are none of you human cultivators stationed? Tang Shishir was suddenly curious. She observed that there were thousands of people in that square as well as in the streets, but she did not perceive any cultivator with spiritual power, which was really strange. At first, I didn't explain to you that this realm's spiritual energy is suppressed by the Great Array, extremely thin. And the cultivators in the human race are already extremely scarce, with only a few great powers staying hidden from the world, as well as the immortal Emperor Powerhouse who is truly in control of this realm looking down on the heavens. Chu Feng hurriedly explained, fearing that this woman would suspect something. Tang Shishir gave the guy a deep look and didn't answer anything, turning around and walking towards the inside of the neighborhood. Two people in the line to the neighborhood downstairs suddenly remembered that they have a courier during the daytime forgot to take. They came to the courier cabinet to find the cabinet corresponding to their room number. Inside was a modest black package, only the size of a palm. From Immortal Magic Games? Chu Feng remembered that he didn't seem to have made any online purchases recently, so after looking at the address, he realized that the sender was actually Immortal Demon Game Company. Tang Shishir had already taken the lead up the stairs. Chu Feng walked slowly behind, and as the sound-activated lights came on, the package had been unwrapped. It was actually a bracelet, made of a special metal with a very small switch on it. In the mail so soon? Chu Feng knew after a few glances that this was the bracelet for entering the Immortal Demon game, and had worn it before during the internal testing. Simply put it on and press the switch and the person's consciousness will be transmitted to the Immortal Demon continent. End of chapter. Chapter 21. This is your daughter-in-law, request for follow-up reading. Chapter 21. This is your daughter-in-law, request for follow-up reading. Previously, when Chu Feng had promised Chen Jiannan's cooperation, he had said that he would give him a game bracelet in advance, in which the character's backpack would be increased by a few special things, but he hadn't said exactly what they were. But as always, you'll have to wait for the game to open before you can get in, which is currently 3 days away. He felt a little confused. Did he need to mail it so close? Just have him go over to the game company and get it. Chu Feng didn't care after thinking about it for a while and put that game bracelet in his pants pocket. When he returned to the room, he saw it coming from the bathroom clattering sound and the mist that blocked his vision. So he knew that the woman was taking a bath again. In the past, when he was in the Immortal and Demon continent, he often closed his eyes for dozens or hundreds of years without having to take a bath, but now that he was here, he washed every day. Even the shampoo body wash in these, Chu Feng had already changed a few bottles. By the looks of her, she seemed to like the smell of chemical industry shampoo in this world. Originally also intended to take advantage of Tang Shishir shower to read the news tonight. One Hong Plaza. The result of the cell phone screen has just opened. A display mom note number to call. Chu Feng. Rushing me into dating again? It can be said that every time mom calls, in addition to asking some questions about life, the only thing left is to urge marriage and dating. It is as if they are afraid that this son will be a bachelor and will be single and unable to get a wife. Chu Feng sighed long and hard before he warily picked up the phone. Hey, Mom. Little wind. You hurry back tomorrow. Your great aunt has introduced you to a blind date, or a civil servant. Don't tell me you've got any work to do. I'm telling you, if you don't come back this trip, you're not coming back into this house. Are you listening? Chu Feng. The voice on the other end of the line was plaintive, though there was a slight note of joy in the tone. Mom, is this too pushy? It's good to at least let me get to the point where I can add a WeChat first. What's the point of adding WeChat? Can you talk about your feelings on WeChat? If you don't seize the opportunity, you'll be tapped by someone else later. It was also right when Chu Feng and his old mom were engaged in a lengthy verbal argument that the sound of the water in the bathroom stopped. Sissy Tang changed into another black Lolita dress and walked out, short for Gothic Lolita. Chu Feng